If you're planning to study in Canada in 2026, the biggest mistake you can make is preparing your application using an old checklist. Canada has not stopped issuing study permits, but the system is tighter, the numbers are lower, and several rules now depend on exactly what program you choose, what school you attend, whether you need a PAL or TAL, and what you plan to do after graduation. And one financial requirement is scheduled to change again in less than a month. So here are 7 rules you need to understand before you submit a 2026 study permit application. Rule number 1, understand the numbers before someone tells you Canada has either closed its doors or opened 408,000 new student spaces. For 2026, Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada expects to issue up to 408,000 study permits, but that does not mean 408,000 brand new international students. The plan includes about 155,000 permits for newly arriving international students and approximately 253,000 for current and returning students, including extensions. The total 2026 target is 7% lower than the 2025 issuance target and 16% lower than the 2024 target. There's another number you may see online, 309,670. That is the maximum number of 2026 study permit applications IRCC says it will accept into processing from students who require a provincial or territorial attestation letter. IRCC expects up to 180,000 permits to be issued from that PAL or TAL required group. So remember, application spaces, expected permit issuances, and new student arrivals are 3 different numbers. Rule number 2 is the PAL or TAL. For many study permit applicants, you still need a provincial attestation letter or territorial attestation letter. It confirms that your province or territory has allocated a study permit space for you. Normally, your designated learning institution helps you obtain it, but 2026 introduced an important exemption. Starting January 1st, 2026, students applying to degree-granting master's or doctoral programs at public designated learning institutions do not need a PAL or TAL. The word public matters. Do not assume that every master's program everywhere in Canada receives this exemption. Primary and secondary school students are also exempt, along with certain other specified groups. And if you are already in Canada and you are extending your study permit at the same DLI and the same level of study, you are generally exempt from the PAL or TAL requirement as well. Another detail people miss, a PAL or TAL issued for the 2026 cap year is normally valid until December 31st. You cannot simply use a PAL from a previous cap year, and if you're studying in Quebec, you generally deal with the CAQ. Rule number 3, proof of funds. A screenshot saying you need $22,895 is not the whole financial requirement. IRCC requires you to show you can pay for tuition, living expenses, and transportation, and the money should be available without depending on employment. For applications outside Quebec, one applicant needs at least $22,895 for living expenses. That does not include tuition or transportation. If you're bringing family members, the required living expense amount rises. For example, the current published figure for an applicant plus 2 family members is $35,040, again, before tuition and transportation. And this is especially important right now. IRCC updates the living expense requirement every September. The government has already said another annual increase will take effect on September 1st, 2026. Rule number 4, don't choose a school based only on the words designated learning institution. To apply for a study permit, post-secondary students generally need a letter of acceptance from a DLI, but being a DLI does not automatically mean every program at that school qualifies you for a post-graduation work permit. If working in Canada after graduation is part of your plan, check the exact program, not just the school's name, on the government's DLI information before you pay a large tuition deposit. And if your study permit was approved while you were outside Canada and you then changed DLAs before traveling, IRCC says you must submit a new study permit application with a new letter of acceptance and pay the application fees again. Rule number 5 may affect your future more than the study permit itself. If you hope to obtain a post-graduation work permit, check the rules before you enroll. For graduates of degrees, there is currently no field of study requirement, but language requirements apply. For those degree graduates, the current language threshold is Canadian Language Benchmark Level 7, or the French equivalent in all 4 language abilities. For many other university programs, and for college, polytechnic, and other non-university programs, applicants who submitted on or after November 1st, 2024 may also need to graduate from an eligible field of study. For 2026, IRCC has frozen the list. For many college or non-university graduates, the language threshold is CLB or NCLC Level 5. So before paying tuition, ask yourself, is this school a DLI? And is this exact program compatible with my PGWP plan? Rule number 6 concerns work. Eligible international students can currently work up to 24 hours per week off campus during regular academic sessions. During qualifying scheduled school breaks, eligible students may work unlimited off-campus hours, but you cannot start working in Canada before your study program begins. And exceeding the 24-hour limit during a regular academic session can violate the conditions of your study permit that can affect your student status and future immigration applications. Rule number 7 is genuinely new for 2026. As of April 1st, eligible post-secondary international students no longer need a separate co-op work permit for required student work placements, such as qualifying co-ops and internships. Eligible students can participate in the required placement under the new rules without that additional permit. This does not mean every student can simply take any internship they want. The placement still has to meet the eligibility rules and be part of the student's program requirements. One more rule is worth knowing before you build a family budget around Canadian wages. A spouse or common law partner of an international student does not automatically qualify for an open work permit. Under the current rules, eligibility is generally limited to spouses of students in master's programs of at least 16 months, doctoral programs, and certain specified professional or eligible programs. Confirm their eligibility first. And finally, receiving an acceptance letter or PAL does not guarantee a study permit. IRCC still examines purpose, funds, and admissibility. The refusal rate across 2025 was 59%. Its January 2026 snapshot showed a new study permit refusal rate of 62%. That doesn't mean your personal chance of refusal is that high, but it shows why admission and money aren't enough. Your application needs to make sense. So before submitting in 2026, use this checklist. 1. Confirm the school is a DLI. 2. Verify PGWP eligibility. 3. Get your LOA. 4. Confirm if you need a PAL, TAL, or CAQ. 5. Check attestation validity. 6. Calculate tuition, travel, and the current living expense requirement. 7. Prepare funding evidence. 8. Understand working rights. 9. Confirm spouse eligibility. And 10. Submit a coherent application. The federal study permit processing fee is currently 150 Canadian dollars. If you need to provide biometrics, the individual biometrics fee is currently $85. Other costs may apply depending on your case. The lesson is that Canada is still accepting students, but the system is selective. Don't choose the school first and ask about immigration later. Check the permit, PAL, and PGWP rules first. Next on Visa Dispatch, we're breaking down Canada study permit processing times in 2026, what the estimate means, and what can delay an application. Subscribe if you want the details that actually affect your application.